All right, folks, it is November the 14th, 2025, less than 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and we've got a lot of news going on in the world. Russian drones and missiles strike Kyiv in a big air attack on Ukraine. So, Russian drone slams into blocks of flats in deadly wave of strikes across Kyiv. So, Russia pummels Kyiv, trying to plunge Ukraine into darkness. So, that is something that is going on in the news as Russia pounds Ukraine with drones and missiles, killing 8 and hitting energy sites. And Ukraine attacked a key Russian oil hub as deadly strikes pounded Kyiv, as I was saying. Oil climbs more than 1% as Russian port suspends oil exports after the Ukrainian attack. Footage shows huge blasts in Russia's Novorossiysk and damage from strikes across the Ukraine. So it definitely looks like things are intensifying there and all along those lines. The United Kingdom's Reeves is abandoning plans to raise income tax rates and is that is rolling the market. And Rachel Reeves backs off from plans to raise the income tax rate in budget. So definitely we'll see seeing how that plays out in their economy. And Chinese astronauts returned from space station after delay blamed on the space debris damage. And China also is condemned Japan Prime Minister Takashi over dangerous Taiwan comments. So China and Japan are in a feud, and how Takeshi's Taiwan comments drew fury from Beijing. Three PLA warships sailed past Japan amid the row over the Prime Minister's Taiwan comments. So definitely, it looks like Sanai Takashi, some folks, and even those at CNN, are asking how Japan's new prime minister has brought China's wolf warriors back out. And there are some reports that Zelensky's image is stained as corruption inquiry shakes his inner circle. So top Ukrainian ministers submit their resignations as the country is rocked by a corruption scandal in that space. So that's definitely something that people are talking about as well. And Chile apparently is heading for a sharp right turn. We need an iron fist. The Trump inspired favorite to win Chile's election is quoted as having said. So definitely looks like crime, migration, and the specter of the train de Aragua are steering Chile's election. So security has become a top issue for Chileans ahead of that presidential election. And Israel identifies deceased hostage returned by Hamas as Manny Goddard. So definitely Israel says that militants in Gaza have handed over the Red Cross a body believed to be a hostage. So definitely there's still a lot going on in the Middle East as Israel's president says shocking settler violence against Palestinians must end. Israeli settlers torched a mosque and sprayed graffiti in the latest West Bank attack. So a bloody month in the West Bank olive harvest leads to the death of a boy, and definitely even the president there is asking folks to calm down and all along those lines. And a decade after the Bataclan attacks, France is still grappling with how to remember. So France is remembering the November 2015 terrorist attacks in Paris. So that's 10 years after the Bataclan massacre. Paris is still scarred by Islamic State attacks. So definitely that's something that folks are thinking about and all along those lines. And COP30, which is that climate conference, that's being reported by The Guardian. We will exterminate ourselves if we keep extracting fossil fuels. And that's what some activists are saying. So fossil fuel lobbyists outnumber all COP30 delegations except for Brazil, a report says. So coalition rallies for COP30 roadmap on how to cut oil and gas and all along those lines. As a matter of fact, I was just watching a news report from, I believe it's Jacques Cousteau's son and everything, and he was looking at some dinosaur tracks, but he was also looking at how coal is manufactured. So it was like one of those nature shows and all along those lines. U.S. issues unusual warning to Americans in Japan. Beware of bear attacks. So a grisly warning to Americans. Beware of bear attacks in Japan. So like we've said on this show before, there's apparently a surge of bear attacks and all along those lines. So definitely that's something that is being covered in the news as well. And let's see what's happening in the United States. Both Nevada senators are spurning their party. They were reading the room. So government reopens. What every service member and veteran needs to know right now is what the military.com is reporting. So they're trying to make sure that their people are informed as to how to get whatever monies they are due. But President Trump has signed a government funding bill ending the shutdown after a record 43-day disruption. And Mecklenburg Sheriff says Border Patrol agents are heading to Charlotte. So that's down here in this area. And Trump is to address the affordability issue and the Border Patrol heading to Charlotte. So Trump's new immigration crackdown will target Charlotte, North Carolina, according to what the local sheriff is saying in that area. And even the Charlotte Observer is letting folks know that the Border Patrol is expected in that area and what rights they should know if they are stopped. And Comey and James are seeking a case dismissal, arguing prosecutor was illegally appointed. So appointed question and gasp in the courtroom. Takeaways from hearings on the fate of Trump's handpicked prosecutor, Lindsey Halligan. So judge appears skeptical of Lindsey Halligan's appointment as the interim U.S. attorney. So we'll see what goes on in that case and whether she's able to still maintain this job in the Trump circle of people that he's working with. Epstein appeared to offer political advice on dealing with Trump in 2018. Conservative media picks an Epstein storyline and sticks to it, according to the New York Times. And Epstein sought to restore his reputation after guilty plea documents reveal, and Epstein emails reveal enduring ties with influential figures even after his sex crime conviction. And Katie Wilson, a political newcomer, is elected mayor in Seattle. So Bruce Harrell has conceded the Seattle mayoral race to Katie Wilson. So progressives win in Seattle, changing directions on public safety. So looks like the progressives have won in Seattle as well. Grocery anxiety nudges aside tariff policy in win for consumers. So Trump administration prepares tariff exemptions in bid to lower food prices. U.S. to unveil tariff exclusions as voters are raging over food costs. And it definitely looks like the U.S. will be cutting tariffs on bananas, coffee, and other goods from 4 countries. Oklahoma death row inmate found unresponsive in cell after being granted clemency. So Oklahoma governor commutes inmate's death sentence just before the execution and all along those lines, but he was found unresponsive, this being Tremaine Wood, after the clemency. So we'll see what's going on in that case as well. And BBC apologizes to Trump over panorama edit, but refuses to pay compensation. So definitely BBC apologized to Trump over the film edit, but declines to pay compensation, and all along those lines, where Trump had been threatening the BBC with a $1 billion lawsuit. Packfire 0% contained has burned 3,400 acres, and there are some evacuation orders that have been lifted as California's packfire spreads, forcing evacuation. So it looks like they're still having fire issues there in California. And the Justice Department is suing to block California congressional map that was out there as well. So that is definitely something that folks are talking about, as well as they are trying to block that particular map that favors the Democrats. So the U.S. Justice Department sues California after redistricting, and the Justice Department joins lawsuit over California's redrawn House map. And Minnesota hemp THC producers said they're ready to fight the federal hemp ban. So THC gummies and drinks face ban under provision in the government spending bill, and congressional hemp restrictions threaten a $28 billion industry, sending companies scrambling. And GOP senators are distancing themselves from provisions allowing them to sue over the thorn securing provisions in government funding bill, letting senators sue for phone record seizure. Johnson says House will have a standalone vote to strip the controversial Senate provision from the funding bill. And like I said, Trump, is not at the COP30 talks. I believe that Rubio is there instead. And Republicans are scrambling for a health care plan, as Democrats eye a midterm battle. So with government shutdown over, focus turns to upcoming Senate fight on the health care and all along those lines. So when SNAP recipients will receive full November benefits in each state is also something that is being reported on as well. So getting ready to bring in my folks and see what they've got to say about a number of these stories that I've been talking about. And all along those lines, I do have Nick Palveda with me. I've also got Rick Rosner. And it looks like we've got some news from the world of the sea whale, because apparently seals have fleed killer whales by jumping on a photographer's boat. So apparently they saw.
Let's talk about all the fun, very horrible sex stuff that's going on. So new details about Matt Gaetz doing statutory rape on a 17-year-old girl. He paid $400 to have sex twice with a 17-year-old girl who just finished her junior year of high school, was sometimes homeless, and just wanted the money to pay for braces. So Great guy there. Megyn Kelly says you're not really a pedophile if you're having sex with 15-year-olds instead of 5-year-olds. So great lady there. And there's out of the 20,000 emails from Epstein to other people. Epstein makes fun of Trump a lot, and they found a new email from him from like 2018 where he says that Bill Clinton blew Trump. No, Trump blew Bill Clinton. No, I forget which way it went, but obviously it didn't happen. But Epstein was saying it.
You guys are having a lot of fun with that, it seems like. But actually, there is some statutory basis in what Megyn Kelly is saying, which I brought out to Mr. Jacoby.
And you were proven wrong.
And I was proven correct, Counselor, as I sent you you apparently did not read the law in Hawaii. The law in Hawaii is quite interesting.
Actually, and by the way, it doesn't exist in just that jurisdiction. Before you continue, let us clarify and set the stage so everyone knows.
What are we talking about? Go ahead and clarify the stage, and I'll be more happy to
set the stage for you so you can actually continue.
Go ahead,
so when I had posted an article about the Megyn Kelly thing that Rick is talking about, how now the new justification for those who are trying to defend Trump is to try and make it palatable for their base to say it's okay to rape 15-year-olds, and that's not pedophilia. Megyn Kelly went on a rant about that. So then the next immediate defense that Professor Nick comes up with is, hey, 2 states say that it's okay for 15-year-olds to get married, which isn't what Megyn Kelly said, but you brought that in just as a defense, which actually proved my point. Now what's going to happen is Nick is going to try and justify his clarification with not ever one time saying that pedophilia is bad, not ever one time pointing out that we're not talking about consenting children or consenting adults allowing their 15, 16-year-olds to get married, which is accordance to the law, which the consent is there. But what the actual conversation was about is about pedophilia and the rape and the abuse of young children. Now, Nick, go ahead with your defense of pedophilia and trying to change the topic.
Thank you, Counselor, for yielding the floor. Okay, here's the issue, is the definition of pedophilia is the thing that's an issue. And with this, the court must take into account the fact that there are certain states, 2 of them that we've looked at, Hawaii and Kansas, that allows the people to be married at age 15 with the consent of the parents and, of course, the judicial consent.
But that's not pedophilia. Pedophilia is somebody that is taking advantage of a child without consent.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Mark. In other words, things you have to look at the definition of it. Okay, so the real question is, what is the definition? It's just like, let's look at Mr. Gaetz.
I think we've all heard.
Can we discuss Mr. Gaetz for a minute?
Take a look over here when we're actually talking about something.
Okay, we're talking about age of
Nick is actually defending pedophilia, and you're not actually talking about the topic. What you're doing is bringing in something that is unrelated. This did not happen in Kansas and Hawaii. So why the hell are you bringing it up?
Because definitions.
Then on top of that, It doesn't have to do with consenting adults. Jeffrey Epstein was not marrying 15-year-olds. So again, you're bringing this in as a defense of pedophilia. And as I pointed out, you started out your conversation with thank you for yielding the floor. Now, these two states, not once did you say pedophilia was bad. My point,
because you haven't defined it, counselor. Define it. You've not defined it.
You are a lawyer and you are asking me to define pedophilia.
Absolutely. Because the thing is, your definition, counselor, you get to run around and make up. You get to make up the facts and you make up the law as you go along. You don't get to make up the facts.
That is the defense.
You have to have the law. And you have to have the facts.
People are so stuck on Trump that they will even justify pedophilia.
No, the only people stuck on Trump are people like you.
That's where we are.
It's
There's a reason that we don't let full-grown adults bang people under 18. People under 18, even if they're cute, lack experience. They lack power in the world. They are exploitable. They are children. And, you know, my dog's cute, but I can't bang my dog. You know, you can't have a 50-year-old billionaire like exercising power over, well, it turned out Epstein had 1,000 victims. They had a massive underage girl pipeline. And one reason creeps like underage girls is they're less hip to creeps bullshit. When I worked in bars, there were guys who were there every night trying to pick up women, never could because they were obviously creepy. But sometimes I'd walk through the bar and there'd be a cluster of these creeps. And I knew that if I peeled them away, at the center of the cluster would be an underage girl who wasn't yet experienced enough to know when creeps are creeps. And so we make it illegal to bang people under 18 because they're vulnerable.
They're very vulnerable, and we're not in some other countries that have different rules and everything like that. But
that's the point that I've made, Mark. I'm making. In other words, you guys are looking at the U.S.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about Hawaii. Let's talk about marrying somebody who's 15 in Hawaii. That's with the consent of the parents, right? So none of the parents of the 1,000 girls raped on Epstein Island consented to the rape. Those girls were vulnerable. They weren't shielded by their communities. They were roped in a massive conspiracy. You know, it's a different situation.
The whole point is it has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Well, let's go take a look at other countries right now. We're going to look at
not in other countries.
Because, I'm in another country.
It has nothing to do with it. What you're trying to do now, Nick, this is a very obvious ploy.
I live in another country.
This was Epstein
I don't live in the United
and
States.
Maxwell and Trump.
I know everybody's guilty.
And the underage girl. That was in Florida.
Everybody's guilty. You don't like.
Let's talk about. Okay, so I'm sure there are countries. Let's talk about other countries. I'm sure there are.
I'm just going to pick on a country that Mark likes.
All right, there are countries where the age of consent is 16. But we're
let's go to a country.
Hold on. But we're not in that country. And if you're so creepy, you can't go by the laws of the country you're in because you want to exploit underage girls, then you're a creep and a predator.
Okay. That's the American opinion. But let's go to a country that Mark likes.
Let's go to that's what we're here doing. We're legitimately trying to justify pedophilia.
No, you guys are talking American perspective. Okay, I live in Europe. I live in Europe, and I have a more worldly perspective, and I know you guys think everything's American.
Worldly perspective.
Country that Mark
pedophilia. You're getting deeper in the conversation about justify pedophilia.
Okay.
I'm trying to say to you by overtalking you because you're just
you guys are
What about Sudan? Sudan's got its own problems, and nobody said that I like
Sudan
Sudan.
has an age of consent. You'll love this. Age 13.
You are legitimately justifying
now, on
pedophilia.
top of it, do they recognize the Romeo and Juliet clause? Do you guys even know what that is? No, you don't, because you're ignorant Americans. The answer is no, they don't. So the thing is, you have to have a global perspective, not being narrow-minded Americans. How about China? China's a big country, right?
Are you living in China?
Okay. China listens to us, and they think you guys are
legal
cool.
definition. The actual lawyer on the screen right now is justifying pedophilia in China, trying to go to other countries. He does not even know the actual legal definition of pedophilia. Do you know the legal definition?
You would say that the Chinese are pedophiles because they don't agree with your American
the legal definition of pedophilia? Nick, you're a lawyer. Do you know the legal definition of pedophilia?
I'm asking you the definition.
Nick, I'm asking you a simple question in your field. You are a lawyer. What is the legal definition of pedophilia?
Jurisdiction.
Nick, I'm asking you.
He's asking a legitimate question. What is the definition of pedophilia?
I've asked Toby. He refuses
Nick, you are a lawyer.
You're the lawyer.
You went to school for law. You have all those books behind you that are legal books. Now, please define pedophilia, the legal definition. You are a lawyer.
No, I asked you to define
So
it.
you do. You are doing everything.
I'm willing to
You guys
defer
are
to
just
the
going around
definition
in
you
fucking
refuse to give.
circles. Everybody
We are
quit
going
yelling.
around in circles. This is over.
There are countries.
Okay, well,
There are dozens of countries around the world where people drive on the left. If you drive on the left here and you get and cause a head-on collision, good luck going to court and saying, "Well, people drive on the left in other countries." It's a stupid fucking argument.
It wouldn't work in the courts, and even Nick knows that.
I am just pointing out facts, counselor.
Yeah,
And
you are not.
apparently,
I don't
facts
trust
get in the way. Facts get in the way of your fantasies.
I don't trust your legal opinions anymore because
I'm not giving you a legal opinion. I'm putting out facts. There's no legal opinion involved here.
You're
What would happen? So what would happen?
It just gets in the way of your fantasy.
Hold on. I've got a question for Nick. So what would say Epstein didn't die and he's in court and his lawyers get up in front of the judge and jury and they say, well, Epstein's not really guilty of any of this because look at all the countries around the world in which how would that play in the courtroom?
In a U.S. court?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to play very well at all.
Then why are you bringing that up here?
Because the thing is, we're World Edition, we're not USA Edition. As a matter of fact,
we're talking about a U.S. issue, and you are trying to bring in all this.
We have two people here right now that are not living in the United States.
Why are you
moving? You guys are trying to push the U.S. agenda on international people.
Nobody's trying to push an agenda. People have different views on a lot of different things, including LGBT rights, everything like that. But just really quickly, because I looked it up on it, and I didn't have to look it up because I already knew what it was. But since you didn't want to give a definition, it is a psychiatric disorder in which an adult or an older adolescent experiences a sexual attraction to a prepubescent children. So although girls typically begin the process of puberty at age 10 or 11 and boys at age 11 or 12, psychiatric diagnostic criteria extend the cutoff point to age 13. So they are referred to as pedophiles. So that is what the definition is and everything. So they've got a very severe problem and all along those lines. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm looking for a definition in Florida because it can differ from state to state. Because I think it's a state law issue. It's not a federal issue.
And then on top of that, the fact that you're trying to make pedophilia okay, and then the fact that it was
hold on, let's
traffic these girls, and now you're trying to.
No, you don't understand, counselor. The thing that what you're trying to say is that somebody's guilty without the correct application.
You like your
stuff. How your system works.
Well, hold on. Let's get away from pedophilia. The deal is, wait, hold on. Whether or not Jeffrey Epstein would meet some definition of pedophilia, he was guilty as hell of statutory rape, where it's illegal for a full-grown adult to have sex with somebody under 18. Regardless of what your pedophilia definition is, there's a statute. And the statute says illegal to bang people under 18. And so, who cares what he is psychologically? He had a whole enterprise dedicated to him breaking the law and facilitating dozens of other rich creeps breaking the law.
Yeah, he was legitimately sexually trafficking.
Yeah, Florida actually has an interesting statute under 794.05.
Issues. And right now, Nick is doing a job of trying to justify the pedophilia as one of the issues as being okay. And then sexually trafficking the children is another issue. So what he's going to do next is begin to try and justify that as well.
Apparently, you've never read the book.
Why can't we just agree that it's bad rather than trying to justify it or make it more
Speaking
powerful?
of things being bad, I'm gonna switch topics because I'm tired of this topic right now and everything. U.S. has you're gonna love, Nick. So hold on a second, because the U.S. has announced Southern Spear mission amid the naval buildup in Latin America. So one of our other favorite people, Pete Hedges, has announced a military operation to remove narco terrorists from our hemisphere. And he's announced this thing that he's calling the Southern Spear and everything. So what is our thoughts about this? Because apparently we've also unveiled a new robotic fleet to target the cartels. And we'd already been bombing fishing boats.
This has everything to do with Epstein, that we're starting a war with Venezuela to distract from the Epstein stuff.
Epstein's a complete waste of time. We've all agreed to that. So now the thing is, we got to look at something very serious, which is the United States involvement with Latin America. And it dates all the way back, as we well know, Mark, to the Monroe Doctrine. Now, Russia has said if we start interfering with a bombing or doing something to Venezuela, even though they've had an illegal election, apparently, that they're going to send missiles to Venezuela. And so this whole situation could escalate. But the story is yet to be played out. So we don't know, we don't know exactly what's going to happen in terms of the U.S. involvement with Venezuela. We do know this: Venezuela's economy tanked because it's like New York. They elected a communist and he tanked the economy. Now it'll just be a matter of time to watch New York go down flames too, because when liberals get a hold of countries, they destroy them. And so they destroyed Venezuela, creating all this flood of immigrants, which didn't come from Mexico. It came from Venezuela. Now we're getting a whole new group of immigrants. They're all moving to Florida. They're called New Yorkers, okay? Escaping communism in New York. So, this is the real problem. I don't know what they're going to do about it, but it's yet to be played out.
Where did Mom Donnie become a communist? And by the way, we'll have a gentleman on Tuesday that'll be talking about socialism and everything like that. But I don't remember him being ever identified as a communist. And
I believe he said he's a democratic socialist. A democratic socialist, then he adopted every possible communist motif he could think of. Creating a potential flight of the freedom flight people who are going to leave New York and go to Florida.
They've been saying that for, hold on. There was actually a clip that the Daily Show did that pointed out from way back to 92, I think it was. Oh, if they get elected, they're going to leave New York. Oh, if they get elected. Yeah, that's an old, white flight thing that this scare. Let's get a boogeyman. Let's create a boogeyman and scare people. That's dumb. So if you fall for that, you're just really not really listening. So you said that he's adopted communist policies, even though you're making up all these words and saying buzzwords. Can you name one of these policies?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you asked that question. Okay. The first one, of course, is rent control. In other words, this is government seizure of private property rights and demanding that rent control.
Like when Trump bought into NVIDIA and Intel?
No, this is real estate.
You
government securities. It's a whole different ballgame.
To do price.
I didn't see Trump instituting.
You're talking about what Trump's talking about now when he's talking about
rent control
and these other
health. Do you want me a name?
Haven't there been Republicans that have done rent control in their various states?
Yes, they have. all this.
Do you want me to name some other ones? How about government-owned grocery stores?
Okay,
Like
government owns
the-
Nvidia, government owns Intel, all these other communist things that Mandani did. Trump is doing it on the
He's proposed.
okay.
No,
Gotcha.
did he say the government-owned grocery store? Or did he say
And that's
community-owned
also
grocery store?
Let's talk
And there are
about-
several community-owned
Hold
grocery
on, hold
stores
on.
even here.
Hey, let's talk about grocery stores. So there are thousands of grocery stores in New York City. Mondani wants to try an experiment with 5 grocery stores, less than 1/5 of 1%. One grocery store in each of New York's 5 boroughs, where what is the deal? That they'll have like price stable, price controls or some shit. I don't know. So it's not like he's taking every grocery there. Also, New York City has had rent control for 50 years or more than that, 70 years. They have 2 things. They have rent control for buildings built before 1947 with old ass tenants who've lived there since 1971. Those people get rent control. Everybody else gets rent stabilization for if you live in an apartment with 6 or more units built before 1974. So
You said how many years, Rick?
1974.
So I'm pretty sure there were some Republicans in New York as governors and as mayors during that time.
But yeah, so everybody who lives in Manhattan knows people who have a sweet rent control deal where they've lived in their building for 40 years and the landlords can't raise their rent by more than 2 or 3% a year. And then the landlords do all sorts of shit to try to drive the people out. They'll put glue in their locks. They'll refuse to fix the radiator. Because once you drive somebody out, you can double the rent with a new tenant.
Yeah, well, let's ask our friend in Bangladesh if they have rent control, government-owned grocery stores, and things of that nature. Sharif, do you guys have government-owned grocery stores in Bangladesh and rent control?
Definitely, every country has, and we also have these kind of things. And but right now, our major and very influential topic is politics. Beside this business and all of the things, because we have elections is coming February. There is a tension in between India and Bangladesh. There is a political reformation, especially the youth community. They want to reform the whole political structure. Definitely what you're discussing about law enforcement, groceries, and all of the things is very important. But now all of the institution in Bangladesh actually reforming everything. So we need 2 elections. One elections actually we call it we have to get support from our all of the peoples. So it's need elections because the political reformation happening. Another one, we have to go for elections. So our chief advisor, Dr. Mohammad Yunus, is a Nobel laureate and a very famous economist. He said in the first week of February, we have to go for elections. And the same day, we have to go for this civil society vote for constitutional reformations. So this is very interesting moment, and what I see, not only this Bangladesh model, I think this Nepal, Indonesia, this India, this Sri Lanka, all of the people reforming their country based on this political structure, based on definitely elections and all of the things. And I believe this will be very interesting moment for youth as they're coming to power. Very interesting moment for all of the previous political institutions like USA. We are also based on 2-party political solutions. But now we are observing we have different political parties. They are engaging in our politics. So the previous model of 2 parties political situations, they are facing challenge. I should not say in this way, but I can say politely that USA political reformation may happen. How unstable condition we observe through this Trump administrations and through the engagement. I believe that this is not bad, as USA is a very large economy and large company, communities, and the world largest defense you have, world largest corporation you have. political reformations, good political person, good political leadership is very, very, very important. But most of the intelligent people like Nick, like Jatovi, like Rick, like all of my friends, they do not like politics. So I do not know how come you spend all of your power, all of your dignity, all of your future, a less capable guy. You are talent. You are brilliant. Why don't you take responsibility? That is the things. I'm a good fan of USA. I think USA should correct. They should invite brilliant people because this is not the smartest that okay, I'm very intelligent, I'm not engaging politics. Perhaps this is one of the stupid strategy we are making year and year. And youth communities, they come to the power, even though your Mamdani, he is a Gen Z, he come to the power and he shows how to play with politics. Time for reformations, the whole culture and economy. This is very interesting moment for all of us.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that and everything like that.
So
Hey, just really quickly coming back to Venezuela and all along those lines. Apparently, and I'd love to hear Nick's thoughts around this. Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, is urging Trump to avoid an Afghanistan-style forever war, which means that that's one of the wars that goes for ever and a day and takes much too long and everything like that. And that came out earlier today. So is he just flexing his muscle, or are we getting ready to get bogged down in a war that might last longer than we think it's going to last?
here's
Well,
Sasha. Sasha
Yeah,
has
Sasha, because he's an expert on war, not me. Go, Sasha.
I would like to tell you something. Do you remember Iraq-Kuwait war, where U.S. Got up on to defend Kuwait, which was much weaker country, a smaller country than Iraq. It had a lot of oil though, and therefore U.S. Of course went to defend Kuwait. Didn't finish Iraq. It happened a few years later under his son presidency. But Bush Senior, he did pretty good job. It was shown all over the world, all those precise bombs and so on. I know a lot of friends of mine, and it was 5 o'clock, they finished job. Where are you going? Well, we're going to watch the war. Because it was all shown on CNN in real time. You could see the American tanks are roaming through the these deserts or so on. Now, Venezuela. Did Venezuela attack anybody? No. Did U.S. attack Venezuelan small boats and so on, killing numerous people? In effect, yes, it did. Okay. Now, don't forget the chicken effect. Trump will always chicken out. So remember one thing, there will be a lot of posturing, there will be a lot of muscle generating activities and so on. There will be no attempt to actually evade Venezuela. It's not going to happen. And one of the reasons is that they're already Russian, C-300 and C-400. And I mean, C-300, 400 is obsolete weapons. They're coming from the last century, but they're still effective. They can still kill the Americans, their aircrafts, and so on. Does, what's his name, Donald Trump really need it? If he wants to get a Nobel Peace Prize, so he will attack Venezuela. Bye-bye, Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, let's talk about, you mentioned the Gulf War of 1991, which was a great war. So Saddam Hussein sends Iraq in, takes over Kuwait. The U.S. forms an alliance with more than 20 countries. They set up overwhelming force on in the air and on the land, and they had a clear objective of getting Iraq out of Kuwait. The ground war took 4 days, overwhelming force, clear objective, and then we got the hell out. It was a great limited war. Trump, the dumbest president in U.S. history, has no clear objective except covering his ass and creating more confusion.
It sounds like he's trying to cover his ass and create more confusion and everything like that. There's no doubt about that's what he's trying to do. By the way, one of his other favorite people, and you'll love this one, Kristi Noem is in the news because apparently, we had this whole government shutdown and she gave out $10,000 checks to some TSA agents who work throughout the government shutdown. So they got a $10,000 bonus check. You know what the
Kind
criteria
of at
were.
random. It was like a little bit like a lottery or a game show. Yeah.
It was
And
run like a game show. How was it
well, I
run
mean,
like?
because not every TSA employee got a $10,000 bonus. It was just like she picked like a dozen out of the thousands of TSA employees. She's like, "Here you go. Here's just we just randomly picked you."
So you're saying that they put on a big show to try and fool people into thinking that they were actually doing something good when they're really not. They're just putting on a show.
They were doing something good. They were rewarding very strong employees. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong
What about
with it. I
the
give them bonuses.
what about
And
the
how
other?
do you know which ones got?
I don't-
How do you
I
know
don't
which
think
ones got
problem-
the award, and how did they get the
Hey,
award?
hey, listen, all the people on
Yeah,
SNAP
yeah, yeah.
benefits get rewarded. Why not give rewards for people who are working? What do you have a problem with that?
The other TSA agents that were working, what about them? They did not receive them. That is what
Maybe they didn't qualify for the award. I
No,
mean, you know,
you just said.
when it
Only
comes
one-
to bonuses, it's very discretionary. You know, so the thing is, we got awards. I don't know why you have problem rewarding good
But it sounds like
employees.
it was a random award.
You know.
Like, how did they pick the people?
Well, you know, it could have been, but I mean, Mark, a lot of life is random. I'm sorry, we have things called lotteries here in the United
What did they get
States.
the award for? If it was a random draw,
Have you heard of lotteries, guys?
so
You know what a
all
lottery
you're
is?
doing is
Jacoby.
putting on a show to
Jacoby.
say you're doing something. You're drawing random names.
No,
But
okay,
is-
so
Hold on a second.
They won the lottery. I don't know why you have a problem.
Well,
with it.
speaking of shows, I got a
problem
question.
with
Bert.
Hold on,
I got-
Rick, what did you find out?
it's not random. The bonus supposedly went to TSA officers who demonstrated exemplary service, who took on extra shifts, or who consistently showed up to work.
So what about the ones who could not
Yeah.
go to work because they did not have money for gas, or they did not have money for actual?
Well,
the
I
reason
don't
they
know.
had
I mean,
to
I
call
don't
was legitimate.
freaking know
Why are you
who.
such a Debbie Downer,
It was a random
Jacoby?
draw.
You know, here they did something good. Why don't you just say, Donald, you actually did something good. I'm proud of you.
What about
doing
the
something
people?
good?
You
I got a
repeat
question
after me.
for Sasha.
Donald,
And,
you
hold on a
did
second.
Ones who could not
Hold on.
actually
I got
go
a question
to
for
work
Sasha.
because they
Because I'm
did
here
not
to switch
have money,
topics.
did not have actual
Okay.
money to pay for to get their kids to school, so they
Jacoby.
had to take off. So what about those individuals? They weren't.
Jacoby, repeat after me.
No, what
Donald, you did something good. I'm proud of you. Jacoby, try this one. Donald, you did something good. I'm
No,
proud of you.
Donald.
Nick, how
Stay
you
away from little kids.
how
Donald,
you
leave
I
little
love
kids alone.
Donald,
Nick,
Donald,
leave
you
little
did
kids
something good. I'm
how
proud of
you
you.
how you explain recent Supreme Court 7-2 decision against Trump? How you can explain that?
Well, you know, the thing is, sometimes you win some, you lose some. Haven't you ever been to the Supreme Court? I guess you haven't, so you don't know that. I do. You win some, you lose
Part
some.
about this is Nick is drawing it.
Okay. And same with behavior. He did something good. So, Jacoby, repeat after me. Donald, you did something good.
Donald, stay away from little kids.
I'm proud of you.
Donald, stay off the Epstein Island. There you go.
know.
Well, speaking
Oh, you
speaking
love
of
that
something
island,
good,
Jacoby. If you didn't have that
for
island, I don't know
you
if
and
you'd have
everything like
anything
that.
to
Because I
discuss.
thought we had gotten rid of a certain type of execution, but apparently we didn't to the state to the south of me. Because later on today, South Carolina man is going to be executed by the firing squad. And speaking of other countries, I know other countries still do the firing squad, but I thought we were well past the firing squad. So we're not past the firing squad, and we're going.
Yeah, no, it's an issue because drug companies do not want to sell states with the death penalty drugs that kill people. Drug companies are in the business of saving people, so they refuse to sell death drugs to states for executions. So now states have to try all sorts of older forms of execution.
So they might have to go to what Sasha said, because I know one time Sasha was recommending guillotine.
Cruelty is the point. This whole administration has been about cruelty and what they want to do. And then on top of that, because it's so transactional, so obviously transactional, that's why the private prison business right now is skyrocketing, because of the fact the private prison industry paid money. Hence the reason they're trying to throw people in whatever jail they can. Oh, we got to fill these prisons because the private prison people paid us money.
Well, I
Hey,
think
listen, they've had firing squads
Trump
before.
is going to build a private jail just for himself. Because obviously, when he will be out of presidency, he will get to jail. There is no doubt anymore about it, because it was very clear decision by Supreme Court that yes, he is not responsible for the action that he was taking as president. For all other actions, he is just as responsible as any other person. Here we go. So there are many instances, even in the resurrection on January 6th, he was not acting as the president, conniving and preparing this uprising and doing all the preparatory job. No, he's going to be sued and convicted for that, and that's a jail. And neither the special counsel or prosecutor, they will be lenient. Well, Trump, he was twice president. He was a good man. He was such a good. No, they will give him the harshest possible sentence. You will see.
That makes sense. Everything. Hey, Nick, I got a
That
question
calls
for
for, calls for
you. Nick, I got a
speculation.
question for you because you're very big on to cost savings. That's what you and David talk
I
about
do. I'm-
all
I'm
the
sure.
time and everything like that with the government. But apparently, this Trump Pentagon name from the Department of Defense to Department of War is going to cost the up to $2 billion. So how is this saving money? If it's going to cost up to $2 billion because we're putting the name in bronze and we're doing a bunch of other stuff. So how is
Oh,
this
the
saving
name in
money?
bronze. Wow. That's a lot of money, Mark. See, I wouldn't have done that. But
Yeah, they
I'm
said that-
deep.
It
the
was
name-
never about saving money. He's already talking
Mhm.
about redoing another part of the White House.
I'd certainly review the White House.
Saving
I would
money.
agree with the ballroom, but I wouldn't have changed the name if it cost $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah, and you know has to allocate the funds. Congress has to allocate the funds. So if Congress is that stupid to allocate the funds, then it's on them again.
And how
Yeah.
did he come up with? And that's another thing. This $10,000
Oh.
check thing. How did he come up with the $10,000 if Congress has to allocate the money? He doesn't have
Oh,
$10,000.
yeah, he doesn't. It must be in the budget of the Homeland Security somewhere. I don't know if you ever looked at these government budgets. They're so fat that
They're
Dodge
perfect.
tried to get rid of the government budgets, and you can't. So the only way you can do it is get rid of the agencies. So he got rid of USAID. They're getting rid of the Department of Education, and there's a lot more cutting that needs to be done. Too bad Elon Musk isn't around.
So he got rid of USAID, which is USAID, which is killed.
Yeah, you have to get rid of all
which
those.
has killed more than 14 million people. He's also he's trying to get rid of the U.S. education.
Foreigners that you hate.
Department of Education, which is going to harm millions of special needs individuals and kids that are out there. So, yay! Look at that. That's what you want, Nick.
Saving.
Pedophilia, harming kids, and death.
Savings.
$2 billion.
Okay, we have
$2
Sasha.
billion
You want-
change in the name. Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
about one thing. Now there is a demand to produce a list of donors, how much money each one donated for this Trump's ballroom, and what they will get in exchange for their glorious donations. That's underway, and pretty soon we will hear names, private names, company names, and exactly what they get out of their investment, so-called. Of course, it's not investment. But, there must be getting something. They cannot. Well, we just get $500 million. No, we didn't get anything for it. We just gave. Whoa, interesting enough. If it's a public company, shareholders may ask. So instead of paying us dividends, you spend money for this stupid ballroom. So you got something out of it. Tell us exactly what. Nick, what are you thinking?
Okay. First of all, it's not a stupid ballroom. It is a great grand ballroom, hopefully biggest ever ballroom to
Wow.
represent the power of the United States of America.
How
Number
it is?
one. Number two. Okay.
What-
There are a lot of gifts that have no strings attached. Remember Howard University, you probably guys don't know anything about it. It was recently given $80 million by Miss Scott, who used to be married to Jeff Bezos. Unrestricted gift. Then she went ahead and gave Winston-Salem
Now you don't
State
like giving HBCU.
$50 million. $50 million. It's called a gift, Sasha. Detached and disinterested generosity.
Wonderful.
That might be something you communists in Canada have a problem with, or you Democrats like Jacoby can't understand.
The names of the gift
Yeah.
givers.
And sometimes, you know what happens on universities? All they get is their name
So I'm
on
going to actually
a
talk over top of him.
on a wall somewhere.
What Nick will not do is answer.
I know you guys hate it. You'd rather have the government.
It's not private enterprise. It's the
So
people's
they actually,
house of people of United States of America. And they
Yeah,
ought
make
to
America great again, baby.
maybe
Big ballroom, biggest ever.
all
I hope he builds the
one
palace
of
of
the things that
Versailles.
the company's got.
Wait, how's Mar-a-Lago? Build the palace
One
of
of the,
Versailles.
hold on,
That would
Nick,
be great.
because you're just
That would
filibustering.
be
One
wonderful.
of the things that the
I'm
company
so glad he's doing
for
it.
donating this money,
Okay,
the
Jacoby, you should say,
billions of dollars that they
Jacoby,
need for this.
thank you, Mr. Trump, for getting private donors to build a
Nick
big
is
ballroom
going
for
there. No
us.
matter how many times he sleeps with 14-year-olds, he's not going there. So, so the thing is, what these companies got for giving this money, what the companies got for giving the money to for this ballroom were giant tax cuts that actually happened before. So in that big beautiful bill, if you notice the big tax cut people that got giant tax cuts, these giant companies, they're also the ones that gave pennies on that dollar because they got billions in tax cuts, but gave pennies on the dollar for this ballroom. So yes, they're getting.
That's great. So it's the least they can do is to support the U.S. government. So I'm glad you agree with me, Jacoby.
U.S.
So
government.
the thing is, what you need to do, Jacoby, is say
They're not
thank you,
supporting
Donald Trump, for building a
They're not
huge
supporting
ballroom
the
and not
government.
using U.S.
The
taxpayers.
ballroom is
you
not
better use this money to pay down the debt of
Donald Trump.
$8 trillion.
Thank
Cannot
you,
fund
Donald Trump.
the
No.
debt
We need the big ballroom. We need the big ballroom. Okay, the ballroom is like
We don't need a
the Palace of
ballroom.
Versailles. It probably needs
As
to be
there are
bigger
people
than it is.
starving on the street.
It needs to be bigger than it is. You guys would want a little tiny.
Or golden
You want a tiny little ballroom that only Obama and Biden can fit in. No. We're inclusive. We want a big ballroom so we include
That's
a
why
lot.
people are starving on the streets, and you're championing a ballroom.
A
That's
big ballroom. That's great.
All right.
That will actually help us out a lot because it will show the might and power of
it
America.
doesn't.
A
It
ballroom
doesn't.
is going to show the might
I
and
can't
power.
wait till it's built. Then I'll go to Washington D.C., buy my place there, and have a great time. You know, and forget these tiny little ballrooms like you have in Canada or whatever you have. Do you guys even have a ballroom in Canada? You know, because when you're inviting foreign dignitaries around the world, you have to show them the might and power of the
I don't know
American
what you're talking about
government.
right now.
You can't say, hey, I have this little shack. I have an outhouse we can meet in. Would you like to meet in an outhouse in Washington, D.C.?
Here's the interesting part.
You don't meet in an outhouse.
This is
guys.
where we started. Nick used to be this highly
Sorry.
respected lawyer, but now
Sorry.
he's justifying pedophilia, okay with
Sorry,
millions
you
of
guys
dollars.
are having your own search problems.
Now he's begging for Donald Trump to invite him to a ballroom that he'll never see in 10 years, in the 5 to 10 years before it's actually fully built. So this is where we are. Nick begging for
Sorry, guys. The ballroom is a government function because your idea of inviting
It's not a government function.
you can imagine inviting President Xi
I don't know
to
what
an
you're talking
outhouse
about
in
there.
Washington, D.C.
That's ridiculous.
I think what should happen when the Democrats get back in office, we should buy an outhouse in the outskirts of Washington, D.C.
And name
until-
that the Trump.
until President
I wouldn't even
Harris
outhouse
meets
after Trump.
President Xi in the outhouse.
No,
Not
I
the
wouldn't
White
do
House,
the
the
outhouse
outhouse.
after Trump.
That would be
That's-
perfect. So, as you guys know, your position sucks, which is typical for liberal positions.
The
And
position.
the thing is, what's really good is to actually
Wait a
have
second. The
stately
position
ballroom.
stinks. How does the position stink? You're saying that being against pedophilia is a stinky position?
Big. We're talking about ballroom. I don't know why you're hooked on pedophilia. You must have an issue there. I suggest you see somebody.
I'm just pointing out what you
You see somebody, Jacoby, because I don't have the issue over
You're
it.
the one that brought it up, Nick.
We're talking about ballroom.
For about
I-
20 minutes.
Having ball before the
And everything
room is
like that.
not
pointing out
Hey,
what you
hold on a second, because we're getting ready to go
Hurry
to
up.
his show in a few minutes. But what is your take, Sasha, on what's going on? Because apparently things have intensified in Ukraine. I understand that a city you love dearly, Kyiv, was attacked brutally yesterday and everything. So, is we seeing an intensity in the war in Ukraine?
Uh, yes, the war is intensified because of Trump's inability and his demeanor, where he wants actually Putin at the end of the day to be successful, because that's his body, that's what he wants to deal with. And Ukraine is kind of a nuisance that somehow have to be dealt. So Trump recently said, well, let them fight and see who is. He's not taking into account that Russia was aggressor. It's a much bigger country. And instead of putting coalition to defend Ukraine, as US did with Kuwait 30 some years ago, here he is taking, well, I'm unable to do it. Well, I was joking. I was sarcastical. That's what he said when I said that it's 24 hours he will end the war. Okay, the war, Ukraine will win anyway, despite of what's happening today, because all Europe depends on Ukraine. Without Ukraine, Europe is unable to defend itself against Russia. It's very clear. It's obvious. Even take Germany and Poland, and I'll tell you what's a huge difference between two countries. Poland is now preparing a full-scale war against Russia. They have a partial mobilization. They have the people who are coming to serve, even if they're older than 50 years and even 55. So they're fully preparing for war. Now in Germany, situation is very different. They are making referendums of whether the Germans want to fight the war, and 90%, let's not be surprised, saying, no, we don't want to fight the war. Now, so how come in Poland everybody wants to fight the war and in Germany not so? Remember that majority of population of Germany who could serve in the army by age and other characteristics, and they are not real Germans. They are people who came to Germany from Africa, from Asia, from Turkey, from wherever. And these people didn't come to Germany to fight for Germany. No, they're getting social assistance, which allows them a wonderful lifestyle and no need to fight. In Poland, it's different. Poland is, remember, for Poles only. So the country is homogeneous. They have the same language, the same customs, the same religions, everything the same. And all country is going to fight Russia if and when that will happen. Germany, absolutely not there. And neither any, except Finland and Sweden, perhaps, there are no European countries that would be ready to fight Russians. Baltic states, yes, but they're too small. And frankly, I don't think that their resistance will mean anything. And relying on NATO is useless because US is a traitor of NATO. They want to send some products to NATO for the money only, and that's what they are. So the sooner the Ukraine and NATO will get rid of US, the better.
That makes sense. We're getting ready to wind down and everything like that. I did have a quick question for you because I know we've got a rerun of the Ukraine show. I did see your note and everything like that, so I'm actually putting that in right there. But just really quickly, I saw the Walmart CEO is going to retire. Is that going to impact their stock? Because I also know you do modern investment, so I just saw that come down my news front. So is that going to impact their stock at all? Because they are a popular company.
It may affect stock one way or another, but it's other overall directions of the market that what will more affect Walmart price, stock price than anything else. Because let's see, if you put a genius at the head of Walmart, what drastically he can do different from his predecessors? What exactly he can do? Very little, if anything. So this is why it's a strategy of overall, for example, if I would choose between two stocks, Walmart and Costco, I would choose Costco to buy, not Walmart.
That makes sense. And I know a lot of people that are fans of Costco and Sam's, those discount stores, and I actually have fans in my family that are very much fans of those. But on that note, we're getting ready to get on out of here. I'll see you for the chess recording at 12, and I've already got the rerun going right now. So I'll see you at 12 o'clock with the chess show.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Take it easy.